This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, and today, as my special guest, I have former WWE, ECW star. He's also fought in MMA a couple of fights. Rodney Mach, how's everything going today?
What's going on with it, Hannibal? Oh, man, doing good. Just out and about, man, trying to do my thing.
I like the beard that you have going now.
Sure.
So to start this off, I guess you were in the Marines before you got into wrestling. How was that experience?
Man, I don't know how it got there, but that is definitely not the truth. I have no background whatsoever in the Marines.
Okay.
I don't know how they got.
That's false information then.
Yes, sir.
Is it true you were trained by the Junkyard Dog?
That is correct. That is the truth. Yeah.
Did he approach you specifically about training, or did he have a wrestling school or something that you joined?
Man, the story with that is actually I was playing ball at the University of Arkansas in Monticello, and I met JYD over at a Walmart doing an autograph session there. And I was still in my senior year, and I approached him and I had a conversation with him, and of course he saw my size and whatnot, and he approached me and asked me would I be interested in training with him. So of course at the time though, I told him I couldn't because I was playing football, but I guess it was 6 to 8 months later when I went back home for the semester break. I ran into him again, ironically at another Walmart doing a signing, and there is where we hooked up, and I started training with him. I think it might have been a month later.
How was the training for wrestling compared to the training for football?
Man, of course they're both brutal sports, but I thought I was in shape when I played football. It was a whole different monster, wrestling and training. Of course, they're both brutal on the body, but football, you can kind of sort of protect yourself more than you can in the wrestling ring. You can prepare yourself for an opponent that's coming to you in a football game, and you can defend yourself accordingly. But in the ring, it doesn't matter if you take the bumps properly or whatever it is, protect yourself. However, you're still gonna, in so many words, you still lose when you face the mat.
What was the Junkyard Dog like as a person at that time in his life?
Oh, I couldn't see JYD having any enemies, man. He was like the greatest guy, the sweetest person, greatest demeanor. I mean, he was a sweet person.
And I guess the first major company you got into was ECW. Did it take you long to start getting booked with them?
No, you're right. One of the first major companies was ECW. Actually, I was in NWA for a short time before then, but no, it was, I think, maybe 5 to 6 months. Actually, totally, I want to say 8 months total with me training and getting ring time is when I actually made the tryout or whatnot with ECW.
How did you like working for ECW with the craziness that was going on there in those days?
To be honest with you, man, I loved ECW. I love the whole context, the atmosphere. I love the people. I love the product. And really and truly, I would have not wanted to work for any other company outside of ECW had it stayed there and lasted.
So I guess you didn't have pay issues in their dying days like some of the guys did there.
No, I did. Outside of that, yes, I did. I came in at the end when all those issues were there, the pay issues or whatnot. But as far as for the environment and the boys and the atmosphere and the style, I thought it was second to none.
What was your favorite match that you had in ECW?
That's kind of hard, because I enjoyed, like I said, the company, the people there. But I'd have Steve Carino was one of my favorite guys to work. Balls Mahoney, New Jack. I mean, it's kind of hard. Sabu's probably up in the top matches, and of course, Time to Dream.
Did you see that documentary on New Jack that came out earlier this year?
Yes, I did.
What did you think about it?
I mean, it just depends. I know New Jack personally, and New Jack is all about the business. I mean, I've never had an issue with Jack, but at the same time, if somebody ever brings the issue or a situation to Jack, he's not one to turn it down. But
So
I
guess after ECW closed, WWE recruited you.
Yes, sir.
Someone just reached out to you for a tryout, or did they just sign you right away straight out of ECW?
We were close, and he actually put in a word for us to get situated, in our first step in the doors with WWE.
And I guess they sent you down to Ohio Valley Wrestling to I guess work out your development deal and stuff. How was your experience down in OVW?
Hello.
Oh, you there?
We having little technical difficulties here.
I was asking, you were in the OVW development territory. How was that experience?
Another great experience, man, for me. Of course, it was totally, after coming from ECW and going there, it was totally, they lowered the bar on of course, on the things that we done inside the ring, but it brought me back to old school, and I was very fortunate to be able to work with the guys that were there in OVW, as far as for the Jim Cornette, Danny Davis. Those guys are brilliant minds, and the talent that we had there was, oh my God, I mean, the who's who in today of pro wrestling. So OVW was a great experience for me.
Was Batista there when you were in the OVW?
I'm sorry.
Was Batista still in OVW when you were there?
Oh yes. Just about all the major stars that most people know today. I mean, Bobby Lashley or Johnny Johnny Mondo or whatever he's going by now. Or Brock Shelton. I mean, if you name it, Randy. We were full of them, man.
Were you there when Batista had his little fight with that Robbie Dix guy in OVW, or was that at a different time?
No, I think I had I arrived there just shortly after that incident happened.
And for Brock Lesnar, how did you get along with him in those days? For Brock Lesnar, I guess he was in OVW at that time. How did you get along with him?
Sorry.
Oh, did you hear that?
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
No, I'm having audio issues.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now? Oh. We lost him. I'll try and get him back. I'll try to get him back. Just hold on a second. There you are. I think you lost connection.
Yes, sir.
So I was asking you about Brock Lesnar in OVW. Did you get along well with him?
Yes. To be honest, I mean, Brock and I never really, well, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we're the best of friends, but that doesn't, I mean, we weren't enemies or anything. I just never spent that much one-on-one time with Brock. But the little time that I did spend with him, I thought he was a good guy, a great guy. He's just a hard-working, no-nonsense type of guy. But yeah, overall, I think he's a good guy, man.
And you were tag team partners with Sheldon Benjamin in Ohio Valley Wrestling. What was that like? That sounds like it would have been an amazing tag team.
Man, I tell you what, it was a lot of fun. Shelton also is a super great human being, and God, his talent. He's probably one of the most phenomenal athletes I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah, and it was great and fun working with Shelton. Um, Always something, in the ring. It was always interesting to see what he would pull out, pull pull out of his sleeve next, so to speak.
And when they brought you into WWE, when they initially called you up, they brought you into SmackDown as John Cena's enforcer. Why was that only for one show and it never really worked out? Did they ever explain that to you?
No, I don't know why it was only one show. Well, I mean, from what the feedback we got, it was a great tag team. We had great chemistry. But I think I was needed more for the role on SmackDown with with Teddy Long, um, to doing the white boy challenge.
Were
I
you
think I was
friends with
more
John
needed.
Cena?
Say again.
Were you friends with John Cena outside of the ring from your OVW days and stuff?
Yes, sir. Man, we were all pretty much a tight unit. Yes, he and I were friends. I'd say we were pretty close friends.
Are you surprised at how famous he's become, even in Hollywood now?
No, not at all. Not even close to being shocked.
And then, as you were saying, you went over to Raw, you did the White Boy Challenge thing, and you were with Teddy Long and that group. How did you like that angle they were doing at that time with the racial angle?
Ah, man, the work part of it was fun. I mean, but as far as for the personal issues, I mean, it wasn't. I didn't look at it bad. I mean, I know it's a work, but the thing about it is a lot of times when we were out in public, I didn't get a good reaction from the fans. Outside of that, I had fun with it, but again, I think it could have went a lot further. For whatever reason, it didn't. I have no idea.
Were all of those jobbers they were feeding to you for that White Boy Challenge pretty easy to work with, or did you have anyone that didn't really know what they were doing in there?
Well, I had a lot of green, very, very green guys that were there, as you guys know, but I really never had an issue with anyone, man. I tried to treat everybody as best and as fair as I could. I looked at those guys as workers, just like I was, and trying to have an opportunity. So even though I was very physical with them, which that was my job, but I've never mistreated them, anyone, or disrespected them because of the level they were on. And matter of fact, I think on a percentage wise, about 85% of those guys that I worked in that white bar challenge, I did the best that I could to get them a spot, get them a job, or if not, more opportunities.
Did you know all along that that was going to lead into your match against Goldberg, or did they kind of surprise you with that?
No, I don't think they even knew what they were trying to go along with it, or when they were going to end it. And that really didn't bother me. It's just I wish that they would have, try to get a lot more out of it than they did. Because I think Goldberg and we could have drew money. Because a lot of people that were Goldberg, they don't have really good things to say. But I really believe because of the styles and where I come from, I wouldn't have had an issue having a good match with Goldberg. I would have enjoyed working him.
Was he easy to deal with? I know it was just a short match, but as far as working with him in the ring and behind the scenes?
Yeah, man. And I say this about a lot of guys, I'm not just saying it, but I thought Bill was a very good guy. Bill and I were pretty close, even though we didn't work that much in the ring together. I had a lot of conversations with him and spoke to him about the business, and he was open with me, and I have nothing but good things to say about it.
Are you surprised that he's signed, I guess, now to like a 3-year deal in his 50s?
Well, not necessarily, man, because of who he is. All he has to do is stay in shape a little bit, and I mean, he's Goldberg.
Now, you were put in a team with Christopher Nowinski after that. What was that like? It's a little bit of an unusual pairing.
Right. Once again, another good guy, great to work with. Had no issues with Chris. I just still to this day always try to figure out why why would they tag me with Nowinski, in the angle that we were in. I mean, we were on such a roll. I think by teaming me with him, it kind of watered it down, you know what I mean?
He ended up quitting the company, I guess, because of CTE issues. What did you think of that? Because you were kind of getting a little bit of a push there, and then he's suddenly out.
Well, man, real story on that. I'm the one that kind of got that going because we were in the hallway and I forget what building it was, but Chris was leaning up against the wall and he was unusually pale. He was really white there, and honestly, I looked at him and saw he wasn't well, so I called over the trainer to look at him, and then yeah, one thing led to another.
I know you were involved in that concussions lawsuit. Do you have a lot of CTE issues stemming from your time in the ring?
Man, at the time when I did it, to me things have come a little bit. I feel that it's gotten a lot better, but there was one point in time where it was really hard for me to think and speak. It took me, it would take me whiles. Like it was hard for me to get words out, and still sometimes that does happen. My mind will wander a little bit, but it's gotten a whole lot better.
And you were very well remembered for your match against the Dudley Boys when you were teaming with Nowinski. How were they to work with?
Oh, the Dudley Boys. Well, um, uh, be honest with you, I had an issue with Bubba, and it's none other than he thinks his shit don't stink. I love Devon. Devon's a great guy. They were good to work in the ring with, but it's just that Bubba has that's something about him that just straight up, man. We grown men. I just want to punch that motherfucker in his mouth. I ain't lying. He just thinks his shit don't stink and that he's just better than anybody else. But outside of me wanting to bust his ass man to man, I guess he's all right to work with.
Did he ever try and rough you up in the ring or anything?
No, I think he kind of. I want to say that he attempted to do that in a match that we had in the whiteboard challenge, and then you can see one point in time in the match he takes me to the corner, and he went outside the box a little bit, if you know what I mean, what was called, and he tried to intimidate me, I think, or take my nuts, but you can see my reaction in the ring where I turned it around and gave it back and took my nuts back, which he never took from me. But at the end of the day, I caught myself and pulled back and tried to stay professional because I did want to beat the fuck out of him.
And then they ended up teaming you with Mark Henry after Nowinski left. What was that experience like?
Man, it was great. I learned a lot from Mark. I love being around Mark. Mark's a great guy. And then again, being with Teddy Long, I mean, man, to me, we had a real solid, good package. I mean, being a Hall of Fame manager, and then I was with another Hall of Famer, and then being the world's strongest man, and I just saw a lot of, I saw a lot of good things that come there.
At what point did you start dating Jazz? Did you know her prior to WWE, or was that a relationship that came out of WWE?
No, sir. Jazz and I met in training. When she was training with JYD, I think she had only been with him a month or two down in Louisiana training. And then when I ran in the dog, we started training there. No, I knew Jazz, I guess, about a year or two um before. I guess let's say Jazz and I met in the end of '97 through training, and then yeah, so it was about 2.5, 3 years before then.
Is it tough having a wife and partner in the wrestling business with how the boys can be backstage sometimes?
Well, yes, it is, but it wasn't for me. I mean, it could have been because my wife, evidently, to me, that's why I'm with her. She's a very attractive young lady. And yeah, a few of the boys tried to pull that card, but I mean, you got to stand up and be a man. Sure, a couple of them whistle at or whatnot, but I was right on point and stand up and any one of them motherfuckers' face and let them know. It happened a couple of times. A couple of times someone made some, little references or whatnot, but hey, I let my nuts drop and I was a man about it. And that's why I still to this day, I won't get disrespected. And then again, I might, but I'll handle it like a man.
Would you ever have agreed to like an angle? I don't know if you've seen what they did recently with Rusev, where they had his wife making out with Bobby Lashley on top of him and so forth. Then they ended up firing Rusev after he did all of that. Would you have allowed anything like that to happen with you and Jazz?
Man, hell no. Hell, fuck that. If I can't get it done in the ring or we can't do it with our talent like that, I guess we shouldn't be here.
Were you surprised they released you both at the same time when they released you guys the first time?
Um, I would say yes, and then I can come back and say no, because at the same time, I don't feel that they were they wanted somebody like me and Jazz there because we weren't a bunch of. I mean, I'm a guy that if you ask me to do something, I'll do it. I'll do it twice. But we weren't one of those ass lickers and ass kissers and yes, a boss ass motherfuckers. So that's why I think they got rid of us.
And then they brought you back randomly about a year and a half later for, I think, about 6 months or so. Did they ever have any plans for you at that time, or it seemed like they didn't even give you a chance?
Like you said, I don't know if they had any plans or not, but they didn't give me a chance. No, I don't know. I don't remember how many matches I had afterwards. The second time around, but no, they didn't give me a chance. They didn't let me know what they were trying to do or anything.
What led to you getting into MMA? And you had a very good first appearance. Then you kind of stopped after two fights. Was it just not worth it for you for the pay that you were getting?
Um, well, yeah, that really wasn't it. At the time, we were going through some issues, some personal issues, moving and trying to find ourselves, and also Jazz was pregnant at the time. Um, So that was hard. Yes, you're right as far as for money on the fights. I was making decent money, but not enough money. And then the fights were far and few in between, so I just went back to doing what I knew to do and just stuck at it and continued doing it. But I love MMA and I love training. I love the whole thing about it. It's just situations cause for me to, I guess, not continue.
Are you still training professional wrestlers?
Yes, I am. Actually, I never really got out. We always have been quite active. But now I do have a school called the Dog Pound Wrestling Dojo, Dog Pound Pro Wrestling Dojo. And we're affiliated with SWE Fury TV. And so if anyone wants to train or, referees, manager, valets, whatever it is, look us up.
As far as the style of training, do you like break them in the stiff way, or make them do lots of cardio when they first come in, or do you take it pretty easy on the guys?
Well, no, I like to, not take it easy, but I think my approach is pretty, is of course a little different. I love conditioning, cardio. I call it conditioning. I do conditioning and cardio through drills that what I'm trying to say is a lot of guys now they're into drills and whatnot, but a lot of them are meaningless drills, jumping around, running around, wasting time. I love doing conditioning, but it will be affiliated with moves and holds and drills that you will used and that are applied in wrestling.
There's a fan on here that wants to know, did you ever have a run-in with any crazy fans at an event?
Yes, I had a few. I remember one real well in Terrell, Texas. Jazz and I both. We were just sitting up watching the show. Gary Hart was on the show, and I remember Iceman King Parsons, guy Jimmy James, and it was a show for a guy named Calvin Knapp out in Terrell, Texas, and it was during intermission, and the wrestlers were in there taking their pictures or whatnot, selling merch, and some drunk guy was really obnoxious and started cussing me out and pointing me out and called me out. So I ran up in the ring and he proceeded to follow me. And as he did, he stuck his head under the bottom rope and tried to get in the ring. And I remember punting him as hard as I possibly could in the face. And he rolled out, of course. And then Jazz was sitting down in about the 7 or 8 rows high in the bleachers. And all I remember is the guy's girlfriend had jumped on my back, and Jazz jumped out from about 10 bleachers high onto the girl and beat her up. And yeah, it's a good night to remember.
There's a fan asking if you have any stories about Sunny. Did you ever run into her?
No, yeah, well, I've ran into Sonny quite a few times. Sonny and I and Jazz, we were all pretty good friends. I mean, honestly, I've never went out and partied and was a part of all those stories that people hear, and I bet are wanting to hear me speak about. But no, I don't know Sonny that way. I just know her from the locker rooms and the times I met her, and she's a great person.
What kind of lifts were you doing in the gym? You were always known as a really strong wrestler, like your squat, bench press, and deadlift, maybe at your peak. What were they?
Yes, sir, and that's basically all I stayed to, man. And still to this day, deadlift, squats, bench. I think at the most I've got on the bench was about 590, 600. Squats, I guess around the same, about 600. And deadlifts, the most I've deadlifted was like 650. But yeah, I love doing um, countless sets, just 10 sets or whatnot of just deadlifts and the old school hardcore lifts.
What are you weighing in at now? You look like you're still in the same shape as you were in WWE.
Oh, thanks, man. I lost, I guess, about 12 to 15 pounds from I guess with age and the mass, but I also deliberately wanted to lose a few pounds. Now I guess I'm about 250, 255, which I was weighing the 270.
There's a fan, Pulsar Lights, asking, what was your MMA training like? Did you do a lot of BJJ?
I did a little bit of it, but I really, be quite honest with you guys, I never really had a camp, a training camp. I went into MMA with what I already knew. My grappling background, my wrestling background. I learned strikes. I took Taekwondo, and I also took Muay Thai. And Muay Thai was, of course, my favorite because of the 8 limbs to striking with. And but yeah, I've never really had a good camp. I really didn't take BJJ. I only studied on the fly and got what I could.
What did you think about CM Punk's MMA performances, considering the years of training he did?
Man, and just to be honest with you, man, that ain't for everybody, and just regardless of his of the outcome, I just CM Punk ain't cut that way. He ain't made that way.
There's a fan asking how you got along with The Rock and Austin backstage.
Yes, yes, very much. As much as people love to say, kind of, I don't know, negative things about either one of them because of the way they were in the locker room, they were great guys. I mean, because they didn't sit back there and have whole conversations for hours at a time, is because those guys are top stars and they have so much stress and stuff on their mind that they have to they have to stay to themselves. But I think there's two of the greatest guys that I ever met in the business.
There's a fan that wants to know if you appreciate what today's wrestling product has become. It's a lot different than it was probably back when you were becoming a fan in the 80s or so.
Oh, that's a good question. Appreciate it? No. Um, can tolerate it, yes, and I'm saying I don't appreciate it because a lot of stuff that I feel, my personal opinions that people call new school or evolving is not really evolving. It's just you're doing shit because that's what you want to do, and then you're gonna call it evolving. But I think that there's, you know, the the lost art. There's so much lost art going from the art of selling and the art of being a real heel, things like that. Just those two separate things change the whole game.
Did you ever wrestle The Undertaker?
No, sir, I haven't. He's one of the few guys that I did not.
There's a fan wondering what your thoughts are of AEW.
No disrespect. I really don't have any thoughts on it. I think it's just another company. I mean, I'm happy that it's there, and I hope it continues to do well. But I don't see really the direction.
Big Consequences wants to know why you never wrestled for TNA after WWE like a lot of wrestlers did.
Um, After WWE, I really didn't try to sign another contract with anyone because I was pretty much disgusted with the politics. I love professional wrestling. I love the business, but the politics is, the shits. And I mean, there's politics in everything. But I love the fact that I could get up in the morning and dictate what's going to happen to me as far as for where I'm going to go or whatnot. The whole thing of being on paper with these guys are, it's too political. And I'm a simple man. All I want to do is show up, work, and get my check.
There's a fan that wants to know what your thoughts are on Ahmed Johnson, who had a big push probably about a decade before you came in.
I was a big fan of Ahmed. I mean, I don't know what happened on the business tip. That's not my business. I never looked into it. But I thought he was a great worker and a good role model. I mean, like I said, hell, I looked up to him.
Someone is asking that there's been some speculation WWE is going to bring the Nation of Domination back. Do you think a gimmick like that could work in today's climate?
Man, again, this professional wrestling, I think anything could work. Again, about being heels, it's just people are so sensitive now. I mean, fuck, you gotta watch what you say or what you do. But from the aspect and the point of bringing in that Nation of Domination right now, hell yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great heels.
How has the Black Lives Matter been where you are? I think you're in the Texas area. Has there been riots and stuff in your area of the U.S.?
Yes, I'm in San Antonio, and man, again, bro, I try to keep away from that stuff. There's been a little of it around here, but not as much as in the rest of the parts. But I try to stay clean away from there, man, and I keep my nose buried in my family, God, and trying to stay training and doing the right thing.
Tony wants to know your all-time favorite match.
Wow. I really don't know if I could answer that. Jeez, just right off the top of my head, I'm going to go with Chris Benoit.
How was he to get along with? Obviously, he kind of lost it there at the end, but from what I understand, not many people saw that coming.
No.
Oh, we lost him again. I think he'll be back. He's on his cell phone. I think he accidentally pressed go, but I think he'll be back. This is what happens when you go live. And by the way, for the people asking, we are going to have Jazz on either later tonight or tomorrow. We're going to set that up. But he should be back. He's probably just having an issue with his cell phone. As Max says, as soon as I mention, oh, there he is. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
So you cut out right when you were talking about Benoit.
Oh, yes, sorry. What was that about Benoit again?
If you could, if you got along with him backstage, or if you noticed anything unusual about his behavior before he went off
Not
the
at
deep.
all. Not at all. Chris backstage, I mean, he was a machine, and I love that about him because we had so much in common. He always talked wrestling, he always talked family, and he always talked about working out and getting better. No, Chris picked me out of the pack actually because I sit down and mind my business. I was always quiet, always to myself and studying wrestling. And no, he and Eddie actually picked me out and asked me to start working out with them and took me under their wings. And man, we did everything together. We went out at times before we worked out. It brought me to the building, and they coached me. Chris was a phenomenal guy, and that from what I knew of him and saw, he was a great dad because his kid always was around him, and he showed nothing but love to him.
Someone wants to know your interactions with Sean O'Hare, who was another wrestler that went into MMA after he left WWE and then unfortunately passed away.
Right. Sean and I were good friends too. Sean, we met in OVW. We had some matches, had great times together. Sean was a good guy, man. He was a little wild, and everybody knows that, but he's a good guy.
How were your interactions with Bruce Pritchard and Michael P.S. Hayes? David wants to know.
Love those guys. Those guys showed me a lot. Michael P.S. Hayes was one of the first guys that ever gave me a piece of advice as Red Dog back in '97 when I was wrestling for Skandar Akbar, and I saw him somewhere in East Texas, may have been Tyler, and he told me pulled me over the side and gave me some advice on my offense, and I'll never forget that. They're always telling me to stay arm's length away from my opponent.
What are your thoughts on Donald Trump being in the WWE Hall of Fame and other celebrities that they put in there? Someone wants to know.
Bullshit. In the sentence.
Okay. Now, you mentioned growing up, being in Texas. Were you a fan of the Von Erichs and the Freebirds and all of that?
Yes, I was. Loved it. Yes, I was. Very fortunate at the end. I came in toward the end of those guys. I was fortunate to meet Gary Hart and Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy. I worked with a few of those guys. Jake Roberts, Sam Houston. Yeah, it was great learning from those guys.
There's a fan here that says you came to a local Memphis promotion in the past, and it started with about 30 people a night, and then within 3 weeks you were getting the crowd up to about 200 fans a show. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Velocity Championship Wrestling. It took me about 3 weeks. Yes, sir.
Did you ever meet the Macho Man? Someone wants to know.
No, I haven't. Never have.
Is there any wrestler you wish you could have wrestled but didn't? Of course, I'm sure there's a bunch.
There's a bunch, but I could always Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. Those two stick up.
Did you ever get to see Bruiser Brody live when you were young?
Oh, yes, I did a couple of times.
Who were some of your idols growing up that you watched before you got into the business?
Dr. Death, remember Mr. Wrestling 2, Coco Samoa. I was a Mid-South guy. Bruiser Bob Sweetan, Johnny War Eagle, Buck Robley.
Yeah. Oh, because you lived in Louisiana for a bit too, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That, I think, was my favorite all-time territory, Mid-South, the hard-hitting style that they did back then.
Yes, it was. Still my favorite of all time, Mid-South.
Max wants to know what's the worst injury you had in the ring.
Patella. Blew my patella out in 3 places in WWE.
And I think that's what led to your release, right? The first time they never really brought you back fully.
Right, right.
Pulsar Lights wants to know if you ever ran into Dusty Rhodes in Texas.
Dusty Rhodes? No, I haven't. No, I knew Dusty Rhodes back in Louisiana. I knew him when I was a kid. Actually, he knew some of the, he and my father were friends with some of the same guys.
There's a fan, since we're in Canada, that wants to know your thoughts on the Montreal screw job.
Oh man, that's I don't know. You got me on that one. All I can say is that was fucked up.
Did you ever have a situation in the ring where you ever had to shoot on somebody or someone tried to shoot on you?
Oh yes, I've had a few incidents like that, and I'm be honest with you, I can't even remember the names of some of the guys. Yeah, I've been shot on a couple of times. I tried to when I was very young and green, and or you get guys that been around that didn't want to pass their torch or whatnot. But you know, I learned to protect myself from the way I was taught, and you know when that's happening, and not. I mean, I have no issues about defending myself. I'm not that way. I know it's not MMA, but at the same time, it's not ballet.
Now, of course, Kamala passed away recently, unfortunately. Someone wants to know if you ever met Kamala.
Yes, I have quite a few times worked with him on the same cars, not against him.
I had the opportunity to wrestle him, and he was a good opponent. I actually liked wrestling him. Derek wants to know if you saw the movie No Holds Barred and what's your favorite professional wrestling movie.
Yes, I did. It's been a long time now. I couldn't tell you too much about the movie, but yes, I did see it. But I think The Wrestler may be probably my favorite.
Did you have any interactions with Ric Flair during your WWE run?
Yes, I did. I knew Flair pretty well.
Jonathan wants to know thoughts on wrestling 20 years ago versus now.
I want to say, man, I use the word real.
And as far as for wrestlers watching this, you're obviously a coach, you had a successful career. What advice would you give wrestlers getting in the business, wanting to make it these days?
Learn, man, the go back to the old school and learn your foundation and the fundamentals of pro wrestling. Learn to build that foundation, and then you can go off from there. You know, learn the rules, or what made pro wrestling what it is. You know, and then you can always evolve from there. But you know, just to jump up and start doing stuff that you see now, it won't last. You have to know, like anything, like building a house, man, you got to have a foundation and know how the stuff goes, the proper way, and then you can build, and then, like I say, you can evolve from there.
Any tips on being a heel for the heels out there?
Be a heel, be a real fucking heel. Real heels don't want to be liked. Be a fucking heel.
Stay Up Late wants to know, were you ever close to getting a title run in WWE? Was there ever any talk of that?
Um, no, I really couldn't tell you. I never paid attention to stuff like that. I always tried to go out there and do the best that I could, and then those things would come. But yeah, I feel had do I feel I should have gotten one? Well, yes. I mean, why not? When you had some other guys just walk on TV the first night, got a title shot, and win the motherfucker. I felt I did enough to at least get a shot.
John wants to know, what was your best paid match? We know in WWE you guys get bonuses depending where you are on the card. Is there one that stands out to you?
No.
Carlos wants to know if you would ever work for WWE again.
Yeah, I'm sure if they threw some lucrative amount of money at me, sure. But to be honest with you, I don't want to.
I guess you don't watch NXT then or anything like that.
Now, only thing I would say about that is Keith Lee, my boy, much love.
And I already know the answer to this question, but David is asking if JBL ever tried to bully you.
Man, fuck no.
We know that he bullied a lot of the younger guys or the guys that he knew wouldn't defend themselves. Did you ever witness any of that?
Man, I could say, not really. It's just, everybody knows he walked around with an attitude, and that's that. But I never seen him, uh, you know, really get out of hand too much with anybody. Because at the same time, I kept to myself a lot, and so I didn't see a lot of shit that went on.
Hardcore Holly was another one that was known for being a little hard on the younger guys. I'm going to guess he never messed with you either.
No, but at the same time, guy like Hardcore Holly, I'd like to say he wasn't really a bully. He was a team leader, and he was just a tough guy, but he was a good guy. If you did what you were supposed to, Bob, man, he would never mess with you.
Someone wants to know who was the coolest guy backstage in WWE.
Oh, that's hard, man, because all those guys pretty much were my boys. I mean, my brothers, man. I loved all those guys. Charlie, fucking, Ray Ray, man, Kurt Angle. I mean, it goes on. Everybody back there, man. We was nothing but love.
Have you seen Raw Underground, which is a new concept WWE has been doing?
No, I haven't.
What did you think about the Brawl for All?
Uh, cool, but I guess not. Man, because a lot of those guys are tough guys, but you took them out of their element, their elements.
Now, for fans that want to follow you on social media, I know you have Facebook. Where could they look you up?
Just mainly Facebook, Rodney Begno, and then SWE Fury TV, Dog Pound Pro Wrestling Dojo. If you want to reach me there, man, my phone number is out there as well, which I don't mind giving out. It's 646-796-5823.
Texas used to be its own territory, very successful. It seems like, especially now with WWE, there's rumors when they come back, they're not even going to be doing many house shows. Do you think a territory could pop back up in the future, like Texas?
Oh, very well. So, because wrestling is alive and well, and around here in Texas, man, there's a bunch of hungry kids that's training and chomping at the bit. There's quite a few little companies that's popping up, and I want to throw one out there right now. SWE Fury TV is on and popping.
Well, very good. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And some fans have been asking about Jazz. We're also going to have Jazz on soon. Everything's going well with you and her. That's a long relationship that you guys have had for wrestling. That's
Yeah,
like
man, and
50 years.
I've been selling and putting her over for a long time. No, I'm kidding. Jazz is, yeah, man. I love jazz like I do now, even more since from day one. But we've had a great time together, and it's couldn't ask for a better partner and person in life, man. Love her to death. She's gave me some two great kids, my twin Summer and Sky, and as we speak now, they're rolling. We getting them ready.
Oh, to get into the wrestling business.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. Do you follow Booker T's reality of wrestling at all?
Yeah and nay, man. I keep in touch with Book a lot. Book is one of the guys that I don't ever, I don't say too much about a lot of guys. I don't remember saying much about Book, but I owe Book a lot of love and respect, man. And he knows that I got nothing but love and respect for him. Dude did a lot in the game, and I watched and admired him from day one, and I've always looked up to him, and props to him and hats off to him, and he's still doing his thing, man. Nothing but love for Book and Shamil.
You mentioned earlier that when you fought MMA, you already had a bit of an amateur wrestling background. What is your amateur wrestling background?
Well, I wrestled ever since, man, the sixth grade at NP Moss Elementary. Then I went on to Northside High School. I was a Louisiana heavyweight state champion there, which is the same place that DC. Everybody knows DC. Daniel Cormier. Daniel comes from Northside. There's also a guy Poirier, Dustin Poirier. comes from the same high school as we do. So we were rich down in at Northside High when it came to wrestling. We didn't have big numbers, but wrestling was always a big part of my high school.
There's some rumors that Cormier is going to go to WWE as either a commentator or a wrestler. How do you think his transition would do?
Man, Daniel's a freak. So it wouldn't surprise me, man. He come right in there and fit right in. He's been a fan forever. So he's very familiar with the business. And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was Jerry Briscoe that asked me to start. Was trying to recruit him way back in the day. It might have been 2000 or whatnot. Daniel actually had a wrestling camp at Northside High School. I want to say 2000. I'm not too good with the dates, but I went over at the gym called Red Laurel's in Lafayette, and and talked to Daniel and asked him about it. And at the time, he said no, that he was going to be looking into MMA. But yeah, I'm glad that he didn't.
Yeah. And I heard it came out in the news today. WWE has officially released Gerald Briscoe after 36 years. Are you surprised with all the guys he's recruited, such as Brock Lesnar, and everything he did for the company, that they would release him?
Oh man, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm sorry, because he's such a great person. That should never happen. But am I surprised that they released him? No, that's how they roll.
As an MMA fighter, an MMA fan, are you surprised that Cain Velasquez was signed to like a very large contract? They only ended up using him once in a very short match against Brock Lesnar, or maybe twice. He may have been in a tag match too.
Right. No, it don't surprise me, man. Not at all.
Who are some of your favorites to watch in MMA right now?
Well, he just retired, but DC is one that the style bender, of course. Uh let's see, it's been a while since I've been, since I've actually tuned in, but outside of those couple of guys, not really.
There's rumors now that Brock Lesnar is a free agent. There's some talk. Oh, we lost him again. We're almost wrapping up here, but we lost him again. Thanks for all your questions, everybody. I appreciate it. We have a bad connection here. Hopefully, when we do Jazz's interview, it'll be better. But obviously, there's something wrong with his Wi-Fi connection. But I appreciate everyone's questions. We'll see if he comes back. Great questions on here from everybody. And as I said, we're going to be interviewing Jazz soon. And who else do I have? Danny Davis, Dangerous Danny Davis, Saturday morning at 10. Rip Rogers, Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Working on a lot of interviews. I'm going to try and get Scott Steiner soon, too. Don't know if I'm going to check here. Let me see if he's messaged me. Otherwise, we might just wrap it at that. Because we were... This is the problem with live. Thanks, John, for saying it was a great interview. The news of the day, as I wait to see if he's going to come back, was Briscoe saying that we're almost done here, so hopefully that won't happen again. Someone wants to know your favorite wrestling referee.
Oh, man. Got two, man. James Beard and Earl Hebner.
And last question I'll ask you, because we're wrapping up here, is someone wants to know your funniest moment backstage.
Really, man, when it comes to that, I'm kind of a boring guy. I really didn't have any funny moments backstage.
So, you weren't involved in any ribs or anything?
No, not at all.
Well, is there anything you want to say to wrap this up? I know you're busy and you had some family emergencies this week. I hope your twins are doing well. Is there anything you want to let the fans know to wrap this up?
And, I appreciate it.
Oh, we're not getting your audio. I don't know if you can hear me, but we're not hearing you. For some reason, we're not hearing your audio. That's better, yeah. Oh, I think we lost him, so we're just going to end it at that. Thank you, everyone that participated. I really appreciate it. And Jazz will be here in the coming days. I guess I was wrapping it up, but let's try if we can hear your audio.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can hear you perfect now. If you want to wrap this up.
Yeah, man, I just want to say thank you so much, Hannibal, for letting me come on here, man, and speak with you guys, sharing this time with you. Thank you to all the fans, man, from day one. Thank you for all you guys that still following us and supporting us. Man, nothing but love for you. For you guys who still trying to check us out or want to wrestle or want to be a part of the wrestling business, please feel free to join us at South SWE Fury TV.com, SWE Fury TV Pro Wrestling Dojo. Thank you guys so much. Phone number to contact 646-796-5823. None but love for you guys.